So I am pleased to present another one of our guest speakers for the day. He's a NASA Space Shuttle astronaut, a surgeon, an artist, an educator, a Walt Disney consultant, and a University of Kentucky Medical School alum. Story Musgrave is who we're introducing today. Story is the only NASA astronaut to have flown on all 5 space shuttles. This is a feat he achieved over his 30-year career at NASA. He's been to space 7 times. Pretty amazing, right? Although he's best known as a career as an astronaut, Musgrave has worked in many different fields and has received 6 academic degrees. Throughout his time spent in the Marines, at NASA, and as a physician, scientist, and educator, he has always maintained a healthy appetite for knowledge, achievement, and service. Story has been a leader for much of his life. The lessons learned from Story's leadership and roles and unique experience reflect expertise in a multitude of areas relevant to achievements in today's dynamic business environment. Everyone, please welcoming Story Musgrave.
Thank you so much, Brent. We are incredible. Having been here this morning and heard the presentations, we are a real match. And I won't, be distracting. We are a real fit. Having listened to this morning's presentations. So what are we all about? We're about how good we can be. Excellence. About exploring the possibilities of getting better and evolving our system and evolving ourselves to be better and better and better. That's what it's all about. That's what my presentation is. Now, I'm not going to talk to you. We're going to go on a journey together. Yes, I'll be the lead pilot, and you bring your passions, your group, UK Healthcare Debts. So we are going together on this journey today to see how much better we can get. People always ask, which one of those airplanes is you, Story? Neither of them. I am the 3rd airplane out here taking a picture of those 2. So that's what it's all about. How good can we be? That's what life is. You got something you're doing, you give it all. You do the best you can. The more you put into it, the more you're going to bring out of it, the more you're going to benefit. You give it your all. You figure out, what do I got to do? You get yourself up to speed. Get that job done, learn from it, take it with you. Don't leave anything you ever learned. Don't leave it behind. Take it with you and keep on moving. If it ain't fun, man, turn in and get another one. That's part of being good. Did you love what you do? You're passionate about, this is what I do in life. Have fun. Have fun. That is my childhood front yard. This is Western Massachusetts, Stockbridge, Massachusetts. That's my front yard. I had a 500-acre playground, a dairy farm. That's the front yard. Born and raised, Western Mass. But it turns out that today it's the Norman Rockwell Museum. So if you visit Western Massachusetts, the Norman Rockwell Museum, that's my old house. Norman Rockwell would ride his bicycle through Stockbridge, cross a bridge, and then he would go through our farm, and we would grab him for dinner now and then. But anyway, that's my house now. That is the posture of exploration. You take any 3-year-old, and I don't care where you drop them, they're in the game. A 3-year-old, They're in the game. Give it to me, baby. See, we're going to have fun today. We're going to have a pile of fun. Give it to me, baby. We adults got to remember what it's like to be a 3-year-old and be excited about, man, exploration, curiosity, what it's all about. Come on, change. Now that's a look down the Houstonic River from the house or from the barn. So it's a sloping hill down into the river. And that's my farm tractor. That's a Farmall F12 way back then. Well, at the age of 8, I have not been checked out to run farm machinery yet. At 12, I'm running everything there is and fixing everything. But at 8, I had not been checked out on equipment, but I want to do what the adults do. So I jump on this tractor and I'm going to pretend I'm driving it at age 8. You know, I want to do what the adults do. Well, you know, tractors, when you hit the brake, you've released the lock. Yep, and unfortunately, the fireman's left it aiming downhill to the river. And oh my goodness, I'm heading to the river with the tractor. And yes, I put it in the river. Drowning is not an issue. I hope I will drown. Because the old man, and I'm serious about the old man, he is not nice under any circumstances. My old man, not nice under any circumstances. And my putting the tractor in the river is really going to cause a huge problem. So now it was a dumb thing to do, but I am not dumb enough to tell anyone that I did it. But the tractor goes missing. The tractor's missing, and the old man is after the farmhands for having forgotten where they left it. So I, at the age of 8, have got a really difficult situation. I have to somehow tell the world where the tractor is, but I didn't do it. So you see, how am I going to work that one? Well, I'm looking around, I see some wooden lawn furniture there, and that's the house. Some wooden lawn furniture, and I get an idea. So I go to the farm and I get a chain. I chained the lawn furniture to the tractor, this age of 8. I chained it. Now, the old man sees his furniture in the river, which is terribly weird. It don't matter how weird, he got to get it back. So that's why I showed the old man where the tractor is by chaining the chairs to the tractor. And then he found the tractor, and of course, he blamed the farmhands for having done this. And the farmhands, they knew. They said, "Little story, you're going somewhere in life." I said, "Yes, I am." So that is way back in about 1942. That's a baler. And tying twine knots in 42 is not easy job. You know, tying twine knots with a machine is not easy under any circumstance, but 1942. And so the farmhand is trying to make that baler tie knots. Well, he's not going to be very successful, but an 8-year-old, that's me, an 8-year-old is going to tie the knots, and I'm in dust so heavy I can't even see my own hands. If I put my hands in the wrong place, they're gone. So that's my life at age 8, doing the farm machinery. But at the age of 12, I'm driving every piece of equipment. I'm also a mechanic at the age of 12. Now, riding my bike around the county, and some farmers had their airplanes. They had just a little barn there, and they're flying their airplanes off a pasture. And this, for me, it's a tractor, you know, it's a tractor with wings. And so I got real excited about this, and I just went to work. I went to work helping them do the mechanics and mow the lawn, you know. And the farmers just loved the work ethic of this kid, the work ethic. So they started me flying with them. So I flew for months. And one day the pilot's getting out of the airplane. I says, "Where are you going, sir?" He said, "Have a nice ride, Story." I think he wants me to go by myself. That's what he wants. I went. So I soloed an airplane at the age of 13. I knew what I was doing. I've been doing it for months. And I knew how to, you know, I knew what I knew, what I didn't know. But so in the next 70-some years, I flew 19,000 hours in total. That's my flying career, the next 70-some years. But I did solo at the age of 13 in this Luscombe here. Well, the farm is going broke and the family's going broke. We are out of money. The family out of money, the family ain't eating, and the farm's going broke. So I left school and took a job as a construction equipment mechanic to try to save the family and to try to save, the farm. I did that at age 16. I left school. And at first I'm just a grease monk, change the oil and do the grease. But then they caught on, my God, this kid is brilliant. And so I got into stuff, I got into stuff a lot more complicated as a mechanic. Well, the farm went under anyway, so I joined the Marines. I left school and joined the Marines. I joined the Marines at 16. I lied about my age. It's a simple-minded farm kid. It's not like they're not going to catch up. The paperwork will catch up. Yes. They said, Private Musgrave, you're lying on government forms at the age of 16. That's not a good start, but we do love you. Come back when you're 17. So I joined the Marines at age 17. I became an aircraft engine mechanic, of course. That's the first machine I got, 3,000 horsepower, that motor right there. And that's my first base, K6 Korea. It's my first station, my first assignment right there. I became the youngest crew chief in Marine Corps history at the age of 18. A crew chief is one that coordinates all the different maintenance specialties, whether it's electronics or motor, whatever. The crew chief coordinates all that, and the crew chief goes to the head shed and puts a green check mark and certifies the airplane to go to war. I'm certifying this airplane is okay to go to war at the age of 18. Incredible responsibility. And that's the first one I was a crew chief on, the Douglas Sky Raider. Well, by tradition, the crew chief goes to the pilot's lounge, picks up the pilot, walks him out, straps him in the airplane, starts him up, and sends him off. That's what the crew chief does. Well, I sent this pilot off this day, and it got late. And I know how much gas and how much long that airplane can fly. He landed somewhere else, and I know the head shed, they got to know about that, but I better. So I went to head shed and I said, sir, my airplane landed somewhere else today. Private Musgrave, your airplane didn't land anywhere today, and it never will. Oh, we'll give you a different airplane tomorrow. The second time my pilot didn't come home, I understood that's what the game the teenager's in. So when I send the pilots off, I hope they couldn't see in my face, but my question is, will I see you again, sir? So when the war was over, we left Korea. That's going by Mount Fuji with our Sky Raiders to the carrier, the USS Wasp. So went on board the carrier. That is my pilot, my motor, and my airplane. Now, this is before the days of the catapult, that throws airplanes off. You flew them off. Depending upon the speed of the wind, the speed of the carrier, and the motor, when you got to the end of the carrier, you either went flying or you went swimming. Yeah, that's my airplane, and it went swimming. But no one said anything to me. They knew I'd done my job. I've checked everything I can, but I can't measure power. I can measure RPM, but they did it. Didn't say nothing, but the pilot's going to get out. So ironic, my brother, the same airplanes, Sky Raiders, on the same carrier, he went in the water, but the carrier ran over him. So we did not recover my brother. This is a little slow. My final base was Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station on Oahu. Now I have to leave the Marines without any education. I can't go anywhere. I can't be there's nothing I can do. I don't have high school. I need to go get some education. So I'll leave the Marines. The important thing is I've been back there for the last 70 years, I'm back there once or twice. I don't leave the Marines behind. I go and visit them. I learn from them today. I'll keep going back there. So, well, one of my favorite, I don't know, where do I go get some education? Well, this pilot I really respected a lot. I asked him where he went to school. He raved about Syracuse University. He raved, he went on and on and on. I'll go there. I have no other information. He raved about it. Syracuse got to be okay. So I'll go to Syracuse. Okay, no other information. Just a little slow. So Syracuse didn't take me, of course, without any high school, but I show up on the quadrangle anyway. I'm going to show up anyway, and I ask people how I fix this situation, and they say, go see the dean. That's the dean. Okay, the dean. So the dean, I charged by the secretaries, and I got to the dean. I said, sir, I'm product of child labor. I never finished school, and I'm just back from the Marines from Korea, and I'm ready to go to work. He never even asked my name. He said, of course. He walked me out front, matriculate this gentleman. People say life doesn't work that way. It does. There's no way a dean can turn down a teenage Marine who came back from Korea. Give him a chance. So my younger brother, he never finished school. He went and joined the Marines. He never finished school either. He got out of the Marines. And he said, Story, no college will take me. I said, try Syracuse. And Syracuse said, we're doing this again, but we do know the outcome. We know how it goes with a Musgrave. And I have a 35-year-old today. He's flying B-1s with the Air Force. He messed up so bad, he didn't get a high school diploma either. But he says, Dad, you know, I can't get into school. I said, try Syracuse. And I have a 17-year-old now. So my oldest child, and my kids that's my thing in life. That's the biggest thing, you know, that's what runs me. I just adore my gang. Well, my oldest is 64 and my youngest child is 17 so far. That I got 5 in between. So, you know, you'll meet Little Story. Little Story's a 17-year-old. But I have a 35-year-old, he's flying the B-1s. But Little Story's having a terrible time with mathematics, and she's a senior this year. I don't know if she's going to graduate, but it won't matter. Syracuse is waiting on her. You know, it'll be the 4th one. But Syracuse, they know how it turns out. You graduate a Musgrave, and doggone it, something's going to happen. They graduate me, and 20 years after graduation, I give the commencement address and get an honorary doctorate. It's what happens when a Musgrave goes to Syracuse. That's life, man. And so what's the lesson there? You don't take no for an answer. That's a child gate supposed to stop the kids from That's a lesson, man. Don't take no. Keep going. All right, do the details. I've been in this. That's what I don't care what you're trying to do in life. You must identify the factors that'll help you and hurt you. I'm trying to get somewhere. What are the factors that are driving this case? So I got thinking about that real early in life. The factors that'll help and the factors will hurt. The factors, the desired outcome. So curiosity and imagination, you just pursue all those factors. And so that is what led me to my first major, was multivariate calculus, multivariate, that kind of stuff there, dealing with the factors. So that was my first major at Syracuse. And I joined the active reserve, the Marine Corps, all the way through college. I joined the active reserve. They didn't have airplanes for me in Syracuse, but they had tanks. So I'll drive tanks. And I became a tank mechanic as well. So I'm doing tanks. And of course, I drove heavy equipment too. I'm already in that business there. And so, and the GI Bill is paying for everything. And I've got all this money. The bureau in my room is full of cash. I got to do something. The cash is flowing out of it. I got so much cash, I got to do it with something. So that's what I did. That's how I went to college. Life is great. And so the 58 is the classical Corvette too. It's the classic after 70 years. Probably the curves and stuff on it. This is my current version. My 30-year-old, that's what I drive now, 30-year-old Corvette. And so I did take up flying as a civilian. I don't know where this is going. I like to fly. Okay, it's fun. But I don't know. I got no idea where anything is going. Off to UCLA in majored in operations research systems engineering. And of course, I need a computer to get the job done. So I had an IBM 709. That's a vacuum tube computer. I became a compiler, assembler, and a mechanic on these computers. But doggone it, all this computer stuff, and I got interested in what's in the head. What's in the human head? So I got interested in the brain. My goodness, the brain, leave it alone story. Nope, that's it. I'm going to do the brain. And so I want to do neurophysiology. I want to study the brain. My curiosity is just driving me crazy. But this relationship now between the digital world and the human brain, that's called AI. I am in the middle of AI 60 years ago. You see how life happens, Brent. It is outrageous. So I'm going to do that, but it's a big fork in the road. There's the fork in the road. Now, that fork is in Pasadena. I don't know why it's there, but I need it for my presentation. So that's a fork in the road you have right there. Now, the simplest way I can go and I don't have my pre-med courses. So I got to get my pre-med. Well, the simplest thing I can do is run back to Syracuse. I'm already matriculated, you don't know me, and I'll take my pre-med at Syracuse. But I'm driving across from UCLA back to Syracuse, and Marietta. I crossed the Ohio River up there, and this town, 200 years old, it was fascinating, a river town, and the Musgrave River, it's absolutely adorable. So I got curious about this thing. I started driving around in the town of Marietta, and my goodness, there's a college here too. There's a college there. So I found what looked like the administration building, and I went in and I said, do you have pre-med courses here? Sir, we are a college. Do you understand? And yes, we have pre-med. Do you have an application? We are a college, sir. And yes, we have an application. So I did my pre-med at Marietta. I don't know if it's accredited. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know nothing about the place, but I love it and I'm going to do it. I'll pay the consequences later, right? If life ain't fun, turn and get another one. I love this place and I'm going to do it. And I'll pay for the consequences later. So I got a BS in chemistry here. Okay, time to apply to medical school. I filled out their application, but I put one typewritten page on the top of the application. That's it. That's who I am. That's how I've gotten here, not knowing what I was doing. You know, just one thing after another, but that's it. That's my medical school application. And I did make it into every medical school in the country. Every one I applied to, I got into. How are you going to turn that down? So, but I ended up going to Columbia. I had such a fantastic time there, and I was excited. New York City was a fascinating place. So that's Presbyterian Hospital, you know, and the medical schools up there. You see the trees? I had a little apartment right there. We had an apartment there. So I got married the summer before going to medical school. And, you know, like nature has it, the babies were popping out every spring. You know how it happens? The baby's popping out he knows. I saw the head going, the baby's popping out every spring. And well, medical school is 4 years. We got married the summer before medical school, and medical school is 4 years. We left medical school with 4 kids. It's the way it happens. But I'll tell you, it was totally lovely. We had a fantastic time in medical school and New York City. It was just extraordinary. But that's my gang. And so at medical school now, I saw this on the door. That's neurosurgeon. That's neuro. Okay. I'll run in there. So I ran in there and said, I want to work here. I'm interested in the brain. This looks like a place I could work, neuro. And he said, who are you? I said, I'm a freshman student. He said, well, we don't have students here. We have postdoc fellows and residents and professors. I said, okay. But I handed that sheet, that typewritten sheet, like when I applied to medical school, all that stuff on it. I handed that and left. And they looked at that and they said, oh my God. And they said, find him before someone else gets him. So they found me and I got hired, but they were worried I'd get hired by someone else. And so there I was. I lucked out. They needed a mechanic. They needed the systems. They needed someone to look at the big picture. And so I ended up running the lab. But they didn't so much need a scientist, but I just lucked out here. I lucked out. They needed me. And so right across the Hudson River here, it was the first parachuting center to come to the United States. It came from France. So the first freefall parachuting center was right across the river. And I heard about people falling through the air. Now, it's not strange nowadays, but believe me, when no one had done it, it was a strange thing to be doing, to be falling through the air. And so I got fascinated by falling through the air, and I went and took up parachuting over there just for the fun of it. And of course, I can't be leaving my family and all and going and falling out of airplanes. That doesn't make sense. So I brought my family with me. So they went and they joined the thing. It didn't work. Hey, Story will guarantee the outcome every time. He doesn't mess around. He is not going to mess around. He's going to do those details and force the outcome to be okay. That's it, folks. It's so wonderful that I haven't heard your presentation this morning, how we're just matching up on getting the job done and just how good can you be. There it is. You got all that kind of stuff there. So I got with the parachuting center down there. I started bringing my stuff to them. We started working together. While I was there, we had 300,000 jumps and not a single fatality. You force the outcome. You just do it right. And that's what we are all about. Is how good can you be in life? 300,000, 0 fatalities. I ended up with 1,000 jumps and not a single surprise. Not a single surprise. I did it the way you're supposed to do it. Guaranteed it. Okay, it's time to go get some training. Graduate from medical school. Well, I ran into this fella in my Marine Corps circles, Dr. Ben Eisman. You know him. He was Yale, Harvard Medical School, Mass General. He's taking beachheads with the Marines with a backpack. He got no equipment. He is taking the beachheads in Europe and the tough beachheads, PLLU and the tough ones in the Pacific. He's out there saving lives with his hands. And I says, my goodness, he's my kind of man, and wherever he is, I'll go train with him. I mean, that's my kind of spirit. It's my kind of thinking. He taking the beachheads. So he became the founding surgeon of UKMC, Dr. Ben Eisman. So there we go. I'm going to intern. I did love Lexington. As a teenager, I had traveled through and I had been on an ironworks bike. You can't go to ironworks bike and not look, it's outrageous. But the whole scenario, the horses and all the rest of it, I love Lexington anyway. But I found Dr. Ben Eisman here at UKMC. So my internship, I was in the first internship class at UK, the first one. So I'm in my surgical training there. But doggone it, I noticed on the bulletin board this strange thing, the National Academy of Science and NASA are putting their heads together and they're interested in flying scientists into space. I said, no, my goodness, that'll utilize everything I have ever done. My science, my flying, parachute, into the whole darn thing. So I said, my goodness, we're going to go do that. And so it's another big fork in the road, folks. But here we go. So to increase my competitiveness, I know they're not wanting more clinical experience. So to increase my competitiveness, I left the clinical training, became a postdoc fellow, got an MS in biological physics, and took up aeronautical work like the lower body negative pressure here. Wintergren lab is still there, but I took a minor in aeronautical engineering and a minor to my MS of biological physics. And they started a new research program at the Wintergren, and that Wintergren is still there. And so I became the first person ever to study the free-falling human being, the aeronautical characteristics of a body falling through the air. I became the first person to study that. And that is my instrumentation. I had two recording telescopes, and I did all those jumps. I did 100 experimental jumps out of Cynthiana Airport. And so the first person to study that. And so, and at Bluegrass Field out here, I acquired a lot of, different flying certificates there. So I'm the competitiveness. So I'm getting more ratings as a pilot. That's my Beechcraft T-34. I got an ATP, that's the PhD of Aviation, airline transport rating in a twin Bonanza here. So there were 6,000 applicants for this first thing. 6,000, 6 of us got to space. Those are not good odds, but child labor came through again. So off we go to NASA. But the same week that I went to Houston, Texas to join the astronaut corps, my dear friend, my boss here, Dr. Ben Eisman, he became chairman of surgery at University of Colorado, and he moved to Denver the same week I moved to Houston. He gave me a phone call. He said, Story, if you can break away from that NASA stuff 2 or 3 days a month, me and you are going to do trauma up here. We can get a trauma center. So I said, of course, sir. So yes, for 30 years, I was a part-time trauma surgeon with Dr. Ben Eisman at University of Denver General. Most of our work here was at Denver General. Now that's a look at trauma. I wasn't that excited. I wasn't that pleased with how I saw trauma. Everyone's waiting for the doctor to tell them what to do. They're waiting on the doctor. He's the boss. He'll tell them what to do. And they're focusing on the injury. So here's someone that's on the trauma. They're focused on the injury. I was worried about that. You need to focus on saving the life, not focus on injury, whatever it takes to save the life. So I looked at different teams, and this is what Story Musgrave does. There's no doctor telling them what to do. There's no boss. Bang! You look at a team. Oh, dear me, it's so gorgeous. To just watch them work is just so beautiful. I looked at a bunch of teams like this, and man, there's my trauma team. That's my team. You look at, oh dear, are they good? That I brought that to the trauma world. And focus on saving a life. Focus on saving a life. Get the injury later. I need oxygen, heart and the brain. That's what I need. Driven by the plumbing skills. So I got color-coded team. Everyone had a color code. And man, the patient came, they all went to work. They went to work. That's what you do in life. Save the life. That's what you have to save the life and then put the injury back together. Now, despite the fact I joined NASA as a scientist, when I joined, they wanted everyone to be a military pilot. So they sent me off to the Air Force to become a military pilot. And that was one of the most beautiful years of my life. It was just absolutely gorgeous. My year with the Air Force, becoming a military pilot. And that's the final airplane that I flied with the Air Force during training. I came back to NASA. And of course, easy transition. I had the same airplane at NASA, and it's still flying. It's a sweet. It's a honey. It's never done anything to anyone that they didn't predict. It's just a sweet airplane. And so it's still flying with NASA now. I continued to be an airplane mechanic. I would pass through the hangar on the way to the flight line to go fly. And if they're working on something I don't understand at that level, I would go and work on it. So that's the depth of understanding I need to be able to work on things as a mechanic. That depth. And so I did become the lead chief maintenance test pilot for NASA, even though I was a scientist. Maintenance test pilot is when an airplane's been on a very serious maintenance. In other words, taken apart and put back together again. I fly it to see that it works. I fly to see that everything works. Maintenance test pilot. And I loved, absolutely adored on doing that. Now this airplane is so beautiful, and it's taken me to such beautiful places. I got to carry a camera. I'm carrying a camera all the time to get these gorgeous pictures that I'm being presented with. How am I doing on time here? I got 45 minutes. Okay, I'll be done. It's so much fun. So here's some of my pictures. I got this airplane. It is a honey. It is a beautiful, sweet little thing. I got it doing everything it can do. This is 60,000 feet a minute down toward Earth. You better pay attention. So I got it doing everything you can do. This is a UPS. So this is their hangar, but it's my cathedral. It's a cathedral. So I asked them if I could borrow their hangar, and I had the mechanics move my T-38s here into there. So that's my cathedral picture that I generated. Now I am down at Florida, and right at the top up here, there's going to be a rocket launcher. Shuttle's going up there, you see. So I want a picture of my airplanes here and the shuttle going off in the background. I'm trying to get some nice pictures of that airplane. Well, there it goes. See, there it goes. I got a shuttle going up. And I got my airplanes here. Now, this is not believable. You watch what this plume, you see, that's a rocket plume. You watch what that plume going to do for me. That's a rocket plume you're looking at. And I got the T-38s. It is outrageous what that rocket plume did for me. Life is good, you know. It's just gorgeous picture. And then I wanted to get a picture of my T-38 with the shuttle going by, being towed, going by. Well, I'm taking pictures, but these people saw me taking pictures, and without my asking, they moved the shuttle back and forth to be sure I'd get the right angle. What? The most spectacular rainbow I ever saw in my life is surrounding my beauties there, Ellington Field in Houston. The most powerful rainbow I ever saw. I parked my airplane and I'm leaving, and a strange light comes over me, and I turn around and I got this thing. I backed up as far as I could, but I couldn't fit the whole rainbow in. So that's actually a weld. There's a weld here. I took a picture here and a picture there, and then put the two together because I couldn't back up far enough. And then I ended up doing a book. So I did a book on this beautiful honey. I also was a show pilot. That's my stunt airplane there, my Belanca Decathlon. That's the toughest flying I ever did. It's tough on the body, it's tough on the mind, and it goes fast. That is really a challenge. Everyone else is enjoying the show. I'm trying to avoid the earth. So now this is a very serious lesson. This is commercial air is the most perfect industry and discipline there is. Southwest, 51 years of flying and never injured a single person. 51 years until Blade 13 out of the #1 engine took out that window and got that lady. 51 years, they're all just as good. You look at the way they operate. I take their lessons and I bring it to medicine. I take their lessons and I take it to all other kinds of industries. And they're all just that good. And NTSB, they are my real heroes. You read NTSB reports, and believe me, you know how to think about life and how to how to get it right. Their reports on what happened, how they dive into the details and get the causality and work it out. You become an expert. You, all of you, read some NTSB reports and you'll see what that is going to do for your life in the business that you are in. It is just spectacular what they do. Oh, that is NTSB. Man, do they dig in. The causality, the consequences, it is just beautiful. Okay, I joined NASA. We went off to the moon. I did become the elite spacewalker for NASA for 25 years. I just leveraged. You look at the various things that I got into, you know, surgeon, the human factors and the ergonomics of a spacesuit, the physiology, your closed loop in the system, all of that kind of stuff, choreography, the strength. And so I did wrestle in college, and so the body strength, for all of that kind, it just added up. It just added up to spacewalking. I lucked out on that one. So I'm testing Apollo suits here for the Apollo program. I'm going to the moon. And off we go to the moon. We landed on the moon 69. I was on your backup crew for the first crew to go to our first space station called Skylab in that was way back in 73. And then onto the shuttle program. The Hubble Space Telescope, I had been working on it for 18 years when I went to be your lead mechanic to fix it. 18 years I've been on a machine. They told me way back in 1975, it got launched in 1990. I fixed it in 93. They said, Story Musgrave, you identify every possible failure that it can get into and get ready to fix it with a spacewalk. You look at all the consequences. You look at how that machine could go. Every possible failure and be ready to fix it with a spacewalk. So I was with the Hubble for 18 years before I went to fix it. It's not just train for a year, you know, that's what it's all about. And do it with a spacewalk. So we're going to catch the Hubble, put it in the back of the shuttle, and fix it with a spacewalk. So for 18 years, I was working on that thing, and that's the way I'm going to work in a spacesuit like that with all my tools and everything. That's what you're up to, and that's what y'all do. See, this is what you do. Current and future intricacies of how you're going to fail, the causes and the consequences that are going to result, and recover this. That's what we're all about here. That's what we're about. That stuff right there, that kind of sharp look. So I did do the first shuttle spacewalk as the first one out the door on Challenger's first flight back then. So the first one to do the spacewalk, Challenger's first flight. I flew on Challenger again. I was a pilot on that one. I could be a pilot or a scientist, an astronomy mission. Then the Challenger accident. Horrible. Just terrible. That is the launch pad in Florida on launch day when we killed Challenger. What? Icicles all over a launch pad? You know how you get the job done. You get the job done by standard sitting, controlling the factors, by standard situation. That is a totally, totally abnormal. What can you say about it? Icicles in Florida? You are in a strange world, a strange place, and there's no way to launch. You have been forced into a weird, totally weird situation. The way you get the job done right is standardization. You know, that's what you do. You do it the way you're supposed to. They launched under those conditions. Sorry. Just absolutely terrible. I did fly other missions along the way while I was getting ready for Hubble. And I was your lead communicator and mission control on 25 missions. I talked to 25 other missions. The best decision-making process I have ever known. They are just wonderful, just wonderful. And I worked on the real Hubble. So I worked on the real Hubble. I took pieces in and out. I did the real work, you know, getting ready for it down here on the ground. I practiced all my procedures of what could fail. So I practiced on the real telescope. And yes, I tried to identify all the failures we can get into, but I was not cynical enough to say we'll put the wrong mirror in the telescope. I wasn't cynical enough yet. I should have been. We put the wrong mirror in the telescope, a great mirror, but the wrong one. How did we miss on that? Well, I won't go into all optics, but there's one distance. You need a certain distance, and you look at the curvature, there's a distance. They didn't make that distance correct. They mismeasured a distance. You know, with a ruler, they missed. And so, anyway. So now I got the rest of the gang. Here's our patch to go fix Hubble. My kids have been with me all the way. That's my daughter Holly, going in the water tank to practice. That's just one. My kids with me the whole way. They're my love. And so we do practice underwater. We do some of that 0G in the airplane. But the water, Newton second, you know, you push on something, the reaction is going to come back to you, action and reaction. But most of our spacewalk training is done underwater, and you put weights around the suit, you know, so you won't you won't sink and you won't float up. And that is the way, that's the primary way that we do train for doing spacewalks. Now here's a really critical lesson. How are we doing? You get every member in the team to speak up. Speak up. How am I doing? Someone gets on my case about they don't like what I'm doing. I just appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. You know, you get people to speak up, everyone. So in my day in medicine, I've gone through some rough times on getting the people to speak up. She will help you if you let her. If she critiques what you're doing and you bite her head off, she won't help again. Get people to talk. Get people on a team to speak up. Talk it. She will help you if you let her. So, and I trained in the Smithsonian. That's a mock-up space telescope in the Smithsonian, very high fidelity. So I took my stuff to the Smithsonian and I installed things on this, and I'll do anything I can, you know, to practice, to rehearse, to choreograph, get ready. Now, I am getting ready here to go and test my tools, to test things in the vacuum chamber at flight temperatures. I'm getting ready to do that. Space is incredibly cold. If you're not in the sun, it's 3 degrees Kelvin. It's 3 degrees above absolute zero. If you're out there in space and you're not in the sun, space is just like this. It's cold, 3 degrees Kelvin. So they designed a mission which was going to run at minus 140 degrees. And I argued with them for months. I said, the tools won't like minus 140, and I don't have enough insulation. I don't have enough insulation. Even in my space gloves, I don't have enough insulation. We can't do that. They wouldn't give in. They fought with me for months. Okay, so I did run an experiment. I did run and was testing in a vacuum chamber for 8 hours at minus 140. My hands at first stung incredibly bad. They hurt incredibly bad, but I kept going. After a few hours, I no longer had feeling. They didn't hurt. So, but when we got done with 8 hours of testing and at minus 140, that's minus 140 Fahrenheit. When I pulled my hands out of the gloves, I had 8 dead fingers. That's my hand you're looking at. There's 8 dead fingers. Now you can see the death is on the front side where I was handling the telescope and handling the tools. You can see that the back side up here is alive. The front side is what is dead. But I'm going to go fly in space in 6 months. I'm going to go fly in space in 6 months with 8 dead fingers. And so this stuff would come off in one big chunk. So the whole chunk would come off. And so I had bones, you know, I had no flesh on this side of the hand. And so the front side of the hand would fall off in chunks. And then, but fortunately, this flesh here on the back side that was not in contact would grow around and fill up, you know, would grow around and fill up things. You think NASA might have replaced me on the mission. Well, I've been working Hubble for 18 years. I'm very hard to replace, but they also know it doesn't matter. Whatever Story got to do, he will get the job done. We know him. He's very persistent. He'll get the job done. But I did have to change how I did business, you know, how I did business. So I have to train. And but a little bit of humor along the way is you know, the TSA pre-check you do for the FAA, you have to get fingerprints. They launched a formal investigation against me because there were no fingerprints. And they said, Mr. Musgrave, your hands are identical to the hands of people trying to hide their identity. And we need to know who you are. So, because there's no fingerprints. Anyway, it did take me 4 years to get my hands, about 4 years to get them. But fortunately, the tissue grew from the back side. It swiveled around and got me some flesh on that side of the hand. Well, here we are, arriving to go fly on the Hubble repair mission and come down to Florida. Your vehicle arrived earlier. There she is on the 747. Stack that shuttle up. Just a beautiful going out to the launch pad and an absolutely spectacular sunset out there. That's your beauty. This is the most powerful emotional moment in 30 years with NASA. You're flying a formation with your buddies. I, of course, am out here taking the picture. Tomorrow, you're going to get in that thing, go get Hubble. You see what's going. Those crewmen, they're going with you. Look at them. You're going to go get in that, and tomorrow you go and get Hubble. I check with my birdies here. They're pilots too. See if they're okay. There they are. I check with them and say hello to them. And here's the animals at the launch pad. It's really spectacular. And I say goodbye to Troy, my suit tech, and away we go. And off to go get Hubble. We catch on to it. We stick it in the back, ready to go to work after 18 years. And of course, we are facing this, and we deserve this. We deserve this. The wrong merit and so many of the other things should not have been. We deserve this, but the world is waiting on us to do something about it. Well, I trained how to fix Hubble with Dorothy Hamill. Dorothy choreographs what she's going to do, and then she rehearses it till she can pull it off when, you know. A spacewalk is identical to this. I'm out there with my tools, and what motion? What am I going to do with my body? What am I going to do with the tools? It's identical to being an athlete. That's what it's about. It's about rehearsal. It's about choreography. It's about perfection, and then rehearsing enough so that is what you're going to do and when you were there. And this, of course, is a real spacewalker. A lineman out there with ice and electricity and all that. That's a real spacewalker. I learned from them. See, that's what we're all about in life. How good can you be? You learn from all kinds of people. I'm going to make it time. And there I am after 18 years going to work on Hubble. That's Australia, you see, Cape York. That's Australia in the background there. After 18 years going to work and this lovely team, working with them, and it's just such an incredible joy. And they're the team, you know. They're the team, you and they. You go and fix Hubble. And that's a bunch of mirrors I put in to correct for the big mirror. A lot of mirrors are going to come out and correct it. Your wide field planetary camera. So that's the work. Come on, baby. Next slide. There. And so these solar panels I had to throw away. See this? So they got warped from the continuous temperature change. We got it all done. We got it all done in 5 spacewalks, about 8 hours a day, 8 hours of walk, 40 hours of walking out there. And she's gone. And this is a moment of sadness. She's gone, and I may not get back to her again. I should have. Talking to the president of the U.S., it's just an incredible moment. I put a smile on my face for the president, but I'm sad because it's over. I'm sad. I'll take some pictures. We'll take some pictures. That's wonderful about space flight. It's looking out the window, a couple of Hasselblads. That's my favorite thing to photograph. It's a microorganism. From space, my favorite thing to photograph is a microorganism. That's phytoplankton. That in the green and the blue is microorganisms. It is just the most beautiful thing imaginable. So from space, I am photographing microorganisms. And that, of course, is Italy and Sicily at night. Just beautiful. That's looking out the window is just gorgeous. And of course, the aurora and this kind of stuff. That's what you see. It is just gorgeous, the photography. Okay, we'll bring you home now. That case going into Florida. I went into California and Florida. Here we are, home sweet home. How's Hubble doing? That's before I fixed it, and that's after. Galaxy M100. See, that's the wrong mirror you see over there. That's what a star should look like, but this is before I fixed it. You see, that's the wrong curvature in the mirror, spreading the star out. That's what a star should look like right there. The pillars of creation, just outrageous. Just outrageous stuff. And 5 years later, they took an infrared picture of them. So we did get it fixed. I celebrated the 25th anniversary of Hubble. And then I celebrated the 30th anniversary of Hubble. I'll get the 35th later. Today, I'm a farm kid, so I do all kinds of things. I have raised 9,000 palm trees. I love palm trees, so I grow things in life. How are we doing on time? Oh, I'm going to do fine. So I raise palm trees, and I do landscaping. This person wanted to be on water, so those are my palm trees. You see up there, and here's the water. So I'm a landscaper. That's a typical Florida landscape that I produce right there. I built that lake, and you see my palm trees over there. So I love the creativity of landscaping. And I got me a Farmall tractor in 1948, just like the one I drove, 80 years earlier. And that's Little Story. She's my latest one, but she's been riding this stuff from the age of about 2 weeks. But, you know, she's learning mechanics there, starting at 2 weeks old. Now, I strapped her car seat to the top of that roof. So at 2 weeks, she was learning engineering and learning emotion and rocking up there. And you say that would have been a fabulous picture. Why didn't you take a picture? Because mother says this is not normal. And if I find a picture of my kid running, you're in big trouble. So I could not take a picture. Mom said, at the age of 5, she's driving this all-terrain vehicle, and even the neighbors trust their kids with her. She's got a perfect judgment. She's just got perfect judgment. That's little Story Musgrave, you see right there. So she's been helping me with a landscape, and she's been driving all this stuff at the age of 7. She's just learning the stuff. You don't know where that's going to go. People complain about this picture. She's on her ATV, but people complain about no shoes. Well, I send her out with shoes, but that's where the shoes end up. She is a dirt girl. She is a dirt girl. And so that's the shoes. Whenever it rains, we look like this. So that's what happens when it rains. Now that is little Story Musgrave, you see. I guess no shoes is okay. The dog ain't got shoes either, so they're all right. And so this beautiful machine, she checked herself out. She just jumped on it and went. She did discover that by raising and lowering the cutters that she got a different blend of grass. So when I send her out to mow, she does not mow like this. She does art. She creates artistic pictures in the grass by raising it up and lowering the blade. This scares the heck out of me, but she's the boss. I leave her alone. So she paints the whole house. She's just painting on the outside, doing her art, but you know, that's concrete down there. That, you know, okay, she's the boss. I'll leave her alone. So I was a professor of design at Art Center College of Design for a couple of decades. And today I've worked for 27 years with Applied Minds, inventing a future for other people. And that's in Burbank, California. Those are some of the things that I'm up to now. So, folks, that's it. It's how good can you be? What kind of excellence can you achieve? Exploration of the possibilities and evolution of the system and evolution of the person. I did this painting here. I did that painting there. Most of my solutions are biological, social, technical. They are, you know, the synergy between different things. That's where my answers come from. Those are my typical solutions. And so me and Little Story and a bunch of kids built my latest airplane. We built our own airplane. And so here's the kids. You see the hands helping each other. It's just beautiful. They're learning engineering, they're learning mechanics. And so you see the concentration and all there. And so going to work. That's the person that designed the airplane that we built. So the designer is looking after us too. I see the kids going to work. And there's a Little Story. She's not any little anymore. She's taller than me, but she's learning from a PhD in mechanical engineering. And she's building that airplane. And she's in flying school now. At the age of 17, she did that by herself. She decided she wanted to do that. And so there's our airplane. It's an incredible airplane. Open cockpit, you're out there in the wind. It's amphibious. You can land on the water or on the land. Got 2 motors up there. And so we take that airplane and we fly from Florida to the Bahamas, the incredible blue Bahamas. Then we go down through Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and down the Caribbean to South America with this machine, island hopping down there. And it's just one beautiful machine out there in nature. This picture is taken with Bo. With Walter Cronkite, your archetypal space journalist story. What do you say? What do you say? I am incredibly privileged to have had the opportunities in life that I have had. I'm incredibly lucky that it all came together in a great path. And for the most part, I was able to get the job done. It fell through. Who are we? Who are we? We're trying to take a picture of Saturn. Sorry, I got to back that one up. But that's us. That is us on our journey through the universe. This thing keeps bouncing me. That is us from 4 billion miles. That photograph. That's who we are. It's what we're doing. So spaceflight and science is the quest for the universe, but it's also the quest for humanity and what it is to be a human. So folks, with your feet solidly on Mother Earth, your head and your heart in the heavens, you go forward, reaching for the farthest targets that you can. And the big message is that 8-year-old did not know that 80 years later, he would be addressing the Kentucky Regional Extension. Didn't know that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Story.